What limits you? Too small, too old, insecure, broken. You have no limits. Rethink your limits.
This is the OPS Pregame Report.
And welcome live from Dave S. Walters Memorial Stadium, where we're getting set for tonight's Week 2 SAC showdown between the Homestead Spartans and the Concordia Cadets. I'm Brayden Carroll, joined alongside Anthony Gery and sideline reporter Carly Flanagan, as we're just about 10 minutes away from kickoff of tonight's game. And it's a beautiful day in Fort Wayne, Indiana, and a beautiful day for football, wouldn't you say?
I'd say it's a great day. The fans are spilling into the stadium. Everyone's getting excited to watch some Homestead football here at home for the first time with full stands in 2 years.
And now let's get set for the OPS pregame show. And last week, Northrop, they had a little bit of a scare. They gave Homestead a little bit of a scare through that first half, a 14-14 tie heading into the locker rooms. But then in the second half, Homestead really turned things around. 17 unanswered points helped Homestead ignite to a 31-14 victory on the road.
And all it took was a little bit of confidence coming out of halftime. Coach Zolman, he talked to the players, he talked to them in the huddle, and they got ready, they got set. They looked a lot more comfortable and a lot more confident coming out into the second half, and they were able to find themselves on both offense and defense.
And last week, Northrop, it was a big game. Homestead found a way to pull through and get that win. And the big story was a fantastic game from Jackson Chrisman, who finished with 8 tackles and 4 sacks. Yes, 4 sacks, wreaking havoc on Northrop quarterbacks Roosevelt Norfleet III and Keon Bates all night long.
And this is going to be a common theme throughout the year with Jackson Chrisman as well as Matt Miller and Johnny Waddell. That front three is going to wreak havoc all on the SAC. No team can be comfortable running the football with those 3 guys up front. All have potential to make the All-SAC team.
And across that SAC, there were some wild games last Friday night. First off, the early game of the year contender between Northside and Snyder that ended in a game-winning 37-yard field goal for the win to propel the Panthers to the nail-biting win over Northside.
And that taught us 2 things, that one game. It taught us Bronte Johnson can lead his team, lead the Northside Legends as only a sophomore. And it also taught us that Snyder's defense might not be as good as it's made out to be. Northside and Bronte Johnson really exposed some flaws on that Snyder defense that everyone thought was going to be by far the best in the SAC.
And another big game was Dwenger and Concordia, where those wins were expected, but the biggest game of all was Lures knocking off Carroll. That was insane. Carson Clark, 4 touchdowns for 346 yards in the 38-31 victory for the Knights.
And we knew it was going to be a quarterback battle heading into the game, as Jeffrey Becker was highly regarded as the best quarterback in the SAC for Carroll and an early favorite. I think Carson Clark, he showed that he could be an early favorite for the SAC Player of the Year with the way he played against Carroll, the way he showed up against the Carroll defense, and he outperformed Jeffrey Becker, and proved why he could be in contention for that title.
And still ahead in the OPS pregame report, we're going to be taking a look at Homestead's opponent, Concordia, along with what other matchups to keep an eye on around the Summit Athletic Conference. The OPS pregame report continues after these messages.
Rethink your limits.
welcome back to the OPS pregame report. I'm Brayden Carroll, joined alongside Anthony Gery, and it is a hot one in Northeast Indiana with temperatures well past 80 degrees.
And this is going to be a hot and sweaty one for the players. They're going to have to stay hydrated. This could be dangerously hot at sea. It's 86 degrees just at 7 p.m. Who knows how long it's going to stay that hot.
And we have a great game ahead of us. An interesting battle between two new faces at quarterback this season in Homestead's Peyton Slavin and Concordia's Eli Maddox. Last week, they each looked solid in their first respective starts of the season, but one of them has to take their first loss of 2021 today.
And two inexperienced junior quarterbacks both had decent outings in their first matchups. Peyton Slavin played really well against Northrop, and of course, Eli Maddox played outstanding against Southside. But there's a lot to learn about both these quarterbacks, and the real question for the game is going to be who is going to grow faster throughout the game, because whoever can grow faster can carry their team to a victory.
Yeah, last week, Peyton Slavin, 139 yards, 2 touchdowns. He also had 8 rushes for 24 yards. And Eli Maddox, in his first start of the season against Southside, 12 of 23 with 216 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. They both looked great in their first starts of the season. And they looked great, especially knowing that these two quarterbacks haven't had many starts in their career. Eli Maddox had a couple last year, and this was Peyton Slavin's first varsity start.
And Slavin, he looked really strong, especially in the second half after getting those first half jitters out of the way. And Eli Maddox, of course, played really well against Southside. Although Southside may not be the strongest defense in the SAC, still show that he has some talent and shows that he has an ability to play at an elite level.
And Slavin, he's got to feel confident heading into tonight's game, knowing he has a stacked line of receivers at his disposal. Nate Anderson, Gage Sparrow, even backup Isaac Barkas had multiple receptions last week and played a huge impact for Peyton Slavin in that first start.
And a very clear thing to notice in the last week's game was Peyton Slavin's connection with Gage Sparrow. He connected with Gage on 7 receptions for 79 yards, played really well. Gage didn't have any touchdowns. Nate had 3 receptions for 1 touchdown as well.
And that Homestead offense at first really didn't see much from them, had 14 points in that first half, and then they really turned things around with 17 in the second half. They had a lot of turnovers in that first half and had 0 in the second half. They looked quite impressive and turned some heads.
They definitely turned some heads. The turnovers looked like a lot of issues. I know Coach Zolman talked about it at halftime. They have to stop turning over the ball. They had 3 fumbles just in the first half, and they had to stop turning over the ball, and that's exactly what they did. They got focused, they got disciplined, and they played really good offensive football.
And the running backs didn't look too bad either for the Spartans. Des Smith Jr., with 12 attempts, had 84 yards and a touchdown. He had an early fumble, but that really was the only mistake he had all game long. After that, he tuned things up and had a great game. And Cam Johnson, the backup running back, also got some time and looked pretty good in the time that he got.
And I think that's going to be a common theme for Homestead for the rest of the year. They're going to split some time between Desmond Smith Jr. and Cam Johnson, as Desmond Smith Jr. plays both sides of the football. So allowing Cam Johnson to get some reps on offense can keep Desmond Smith rested.
And the Spartans, you know that they're going to come out and really focus on the passing game. Their rushing game, pretty good last season with 132.9 yards per game, but it's their passing that Coach Zolman has emphasized in his 18 years with the Spartans. Last year, 224.5 yards per game in the air. With a new quarterback, you expect them to just launch it and give him as many opportunities as he can to improve early in the season.
And I think it's going to turn out a lot like how it did with Evan Ormsby last year. As Ormsby got more and more comfortable with the quarterback role, he started passing the ball more and more, especially to Nate Anderson. And I think if Peyton Slavin, if he can find that, he's going to be a lot more comfortable passing the football, especially on the deeper throws.
Yeah, and he has plenty of targets to go to. Grant Heyer, Gage Sparrow, Max Schultz, Nate Anderson, all seniors, all in that receiving core, all starting. He's got some great players to go out and sling that ball to, which he did all game long against Northrop pretty successfully.
And he has a good group of guys protecting him as well, the Homestead offensive line known as the Hog Squad. They do a really good job of protecting Slavin, treating him as their kid, and just protect him, give him some space, and give him some time to throw the football.
And here come the Homestead Spartans preparing to walk out of the helmet for the first time this season, and for the first time since 2019 in front of a full capacity crowd.
And the Spartans, you can tell they're really excited. The student section leaders were coming in all painted up. They looked very excited, ready to go this year.
Coach Chad Zolman ready to lead his team out 147-44, the record in his 18th year at the Homestead High School. Been quite the successful coach. His team 2-time defending SAC champions. And they're ready to walk out to the field at Dave S. Walters Memorial Stadium and start off this season, week 2, ready to go, first home game of the year.
And you can expect to hear the victory bell that has come back to Homestead High School the past 2 years ringing about as the players come out of the helmet.
Yeah, you hear a big play, start of the game, end of the game, kickoff. That bell will be ringing all game long. This Spartan team, they're pretty proud to have it, not only this year, but for 2 years straight.
And they're looking to make it a third year straight. They're already 1-0 on the season. If they can close out 9-0, they are for sure going to get that three-peat.
Student section on their feet, getting ready to see their Spartan squad hit the field. Homestead, Concordia, both teams 1-0. This is an exciting game to watch. Last year was 7-0 victory for the Spartans at Concordia's field. In Concordia, they're looking for revenge tonight. Homestead looking to go 2-0, remain unbeaten, remain on track for the SAC crown early in the season. And here come the Spartans.
The Homestead Spartans.
Last season, 5-1 at home. This atmosphere at Davis Walters Memorial Stadium always gets you going, and seeing Homestead come out to the field with fans in the stands, it's a great feeling, Anthony.
And it throws you back to 2 years ago when Homestead had arguably the best student section in the entire state. They could not lose at home when the fans were here, when the students were out here going crazy, dressed in their themes. It's a USA theme tonight, and you'll see that throughout the crowd. And it's just so great having all the students here cheering on their players that they have classes with and see you out throughout the day.
And now the Cadets, they hit their sideline, and their coach, head coach Mike Eschbach, he has big shoes to fill after the cadet coach of 27 years, Tim Managel, stepped down last season. Coming in for a state title winning head coach, that's a big challenge, and this week is certainly Coach Eschbach's biggest challenge since taking the job back in the spring.
And this test is going to be no cakewalk for Coach Eschbach. He really has a lot of shoes to fill, coming back filling from a coach, state championship coach, and he's got a lot of shoes to fill, and playing against a physical squad like Homestead, a squad that's mostly a lot bigger than his cadets. It's going to be a challenge that he'll have to adapt to.
And last week, Concordia, they looked good in Coach Eschbach's first game as the cadet coach, winning 42-20 over the Southside Archers.
And a lot of it may have to do with Southside. They're not the best team in the SAC. They struggle a lot. In fact, this week they're starting less than 30 players on their team. And that's not necessarily an excuse for Concordia to have such a blowout win over Southside, but it's going to be a step up from Southside for Concordia to play Homestead.
Coin toss at the center of the field. Here at Davis Walters, the captains for the Spartans, Nate Anderson, Max Schiltz, Matthew Miller, and big number 73, Jaden Abuhalka. 4 players you have seen throughout their 4 years with this Spartan team, and they have made quite the impact in their time.
And that's definitely a guarantee. Nate Anderson, one of the highest regarded wide receivers in the SAC. Definitely someone to keep your eye on tonight and see if Peyton Slavin gets a lot more comfortable with.
Yep, Nate Anderson, the commit to Western Michigan, committed last year during the season. He is quite the stud on this Spartan offense, and you can expect to see him get the ball plenty of times.
And I definitely agree. He's going to be running a lot of deep routes because he has that speed, and he's going to be a kick returner. In fact, we almost saw him return a kick for a touchdown to open up the game against Northrop, and it looks like they're going to like to kick off. So when Concordia kicks off to him, we'll see if Nate Anderson will be able to get a return and run it all the way back like he almost did last week.
Nate Anderson, you look quite successful in kickoff returns last year. The first play from scrimmage, actually the first kickoff of the game, started with a Nate Anderson return deep into Northrop territory. The drive did not end in a touchdown, but it was a fiery start to Homestead's season.
And a lot of Homestead's offense is going to rely on getting the senior wide receivers the ball because they can make plays after the play. We just talked about Nate Anderson's speed. If he gets just any yards of space after the catch, he's gone.
Cameron Jarrett, the kicker for the Spartans, kicks into the wind. And just out of the end zone, this game will start with a penalty. Concordia will get the ball at the 35-yard line.
And that was a big talk last week. There were a lot of penalties in the first half especially. The game seemed to be filled with penalties. It was moving very slowly. Players were adjusting to the high school rules almost. And there's a lot of penalties, a lot of dirty ball.
At first, most of those penalties didn't even seem like mental miscues. You had some unsportsmanlike conducts. Just a messy start to the season for the Spartans, but they really cleaned it up when it came to penalties come that second quarter.
And I think a lot of it was getting rid of those first quarter jitters. The first 12 minutes of play are definitely no easy task in high school football.
1st and 10, Eli Maddox, the 6'1", 165-pound junior. Handoff up the gut. Waddell almost got to him. Breaks out to the 40, finally brought down. Solid start for Concordia, about 5 yards on that rush. Brought down eventually by Des Smith Jr.
And that was James Rusher, the tight end, on that rush, getting a couple of yards, getting almost to the first down, maybe 4 yards short. And you said Johnny Waddell almost with the tackle. That's going to be a story. That's going to be somebody to watch because he stuffs the middle. He has a really good size for a nose tackle, and he really takes up almost the entire offensive line, it seems like. At least he did in the Northrop game.
It was a penalty on Homestead, so they moved the chains. It'll be a first down for Concordia. So just like that, already moving down the field. Man in motion. Jet sweep, we see this a lot from Concordia. And he's going to get almost to the first down marker.
Xander Pratt on the carry for Concordia.
Xander Pratt. You see Concordia run the jet sweep a lot. They have a very fiery offense that catches you off guard. They've always been like this. And Coach Eschbach has continued that tradition of having a very confusing to dissect offense.
And I think Eschbach, he definitely agrees with the saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. As he's using these jet sweeps, he knows that his tight ends and wide receivers, that they have speed. He knows he can utilize his offensive line, especially going around left tackle Bubba Craig, who's 6'8" and 340 pounds.
Little screen to Dontrell Johnson, and he is stuffed at the line of scrimmage. Max Schultz got in there. The 5'11", 170 senior captain getting the tackle.
And Max Schultz, he's someone who plays on both sides of the football. He plays middle linebacker on defense and plays slot wide receiver on offense. He has really good stamina for a football player, able to play the entire game, and there's a reason he's a captain. He gets this team fired up, he gets this team on edge, and he keeps them going.
First third down of the game. Let's see how Eli Maddox and Coach Eschbach handles the first third down on the road of this season. Maddox in the gun. 2 wide receivers. To his right, rolls out. And he's got Jace Parnan downfield. That's the first down. And that's a big gain for Concordia. That's the way to prove yourself early. Get yourself a third down conversion and move into Homestead territory.
And that was some great discipline by Eli Maddox. He had the pressure coming right in his face and was able to just throw the ball and find Jace Parnan wide open on the left side. Great play design by Concordia on third down. It's bringing up some early questions about the Homestead defense. Can they play as well as they did against Northrop? Can they stop the short passes like they were able to against Northrop?
And Eli Maddox, outside the huddle, predicted he would be one of the 6 juniors set to break out this season. And so far, at least through one game, he has looked quite well. There's a toss over to Jace Parnan again, and this time he isn't going nowhere. Kyle Detweiler making the tackle from the secondary.
And that is some senior discipline right there. Kyle Detweiler picking up on the play very early able to bring down Jace Parnan for the tackle in the 6-yard loss.
And seemingly the Homestead defense, they're expecting a lot of tosses, a lot of sweeps from this Concordia team.
And they definitely are, and you can see that right there. Almost the entire Homestead defense was able to pick up on that play. They were not fooled at all. Eli Maddox, he has to wonder how long is this success going to last.
Fakes the jet sweep that time, drops back, almost intercepted by Des Smith. Flags on the field. And this might end up being against the Spartans, possible pass interference.
And it looks like it is going to be pass interference. Des Smith Jr. can't believe it. He thought he got a finger on the football, and it looks like he's just pushed him from the back as going into it. Interesting decision by Eli Maddox to throw that ball into quadruple coverage.
And they're going to pick up the flag, actually. It was tipped by Max Schultz, and then Des Smith almost got himself the interception. So because of the tip before Des Smith got in there, since the tip happened before the PI, they pick up the flag.
That was great play by Homestead. They had 7 guys collapsing in on just one wide receiver. They picked up on it pretty quick.
This time, 2 running backs in the backfield alongside Eli Maddox. Coach Eschbach loves to switch up his formations and keep the defense on their toes.
In a 3rd down and long, it's going to be interesting to see how Concordia does this. They're going to have to put a lot of trust in Eli Maddox's arms. And now Homestead, they're dropping back to playing 2 safeties. Looks like Isaac Barkus is out there, as well as maybe Kyle Detweiler standing back as the 2nd safety.
3rd and 16. Eli Maddox drops back. A little slip screen to James Rusher, and he is stuffed in the backfield. Ethan Dorsey, the cornerback senior, making the stop behind the line. First 4th down of the game coming up.
There were a lot of questions about whether or not Dorsey would be able to fill in the shoes for Aaron Wagner, and look at him right there picking up on the play just like that, and it's a tackle for loss on 3rd and long. That's not what you want for Concordia, as they're going to have to elect to punt it.
Concordia, may be interesting to see how they line up at the punt. The punter, Jace Parnan, only about 10 yards back. This one's a knuckleball. May get it inside the 10, and he does. Quite the punt from Jace Parnan, and he gives the Homestead offense tough field position to start this off for Homestead.
Isaac Barkus had no chance to return it. It was a perfect punt going right out of bounds at the 7-yard line. Barkus clearly disappointed. It looks like Isaac Barkus is going to stay on the field for offense. It's an interesting decision. He had a touchdown last week within the red zone. They brought him in because of his height, and it looks like they're going to bring him in to play some wide out today.
Isaac Barkus, like you said, he had multiple receptions last week against Northrop, got himself some extra time on the field, and Coach Zolman opting to keep him out there. 1st down, screen to Anderson. Shake, stiff arm, and down at the 22-yard line. Nate Anderson, we knew he'd get the ball plenty of times, and there he is. First reception of the game for Homestead goes right to him, and the chains move along.
And just like that, you know, Slavin, he's thinking, how can I get the ball to Nate Anderson more? Just an easy turnaround pass like that, giving Nate Anderson just a tiny bit of space. And like I said, if he gets a little bit of space, he can go. He just pushed the corner along with him as he went and got an extra 20 yards for Homestead.
1st and 10 for the Spartans. Slavin in the shotgun. Homestead almost exclusively runs the shotgun. Drops back. He's got a man open downfield. Incomplete. Gage Sparrow had separation on JT Turner, but the ball sails past him.
And that's some young quarterback play you see right there. Peyton Slavin got a little bit too antsy, threw the ball a little bit too early, and just over the head of Gage Sparrow.
That's the kind of play that you want to see happen early in the 1st quarter. You want to really set the tone on the offensive end. That would have been a huge tone setter if that completion was made. 2nd and 10 for the Spartans. Handoff up the gut to Des Smith, and he is shut down by Larry Schoenfield, the captain for Concordia.
And Larry Schoenfield was not fooled after 2 passing plays for Homestead. He knew they were going to run the football. Nobody on Concordia was fooled, as Desmond Smith was only able to get 4 yards.
And now Homestead gets their first 3rd down of the game. A little more comfort here on 3rd down than they had last week. at Spooler Stadium. Now they get to play in what's friendly for them, the friendly confines of Dave S. Walters. 3rd and 7 for the Spartans. Slavin drops back. Pocket collapses. Throws toward Anderson just to his left. Anderson could not turn and catch that one. 4th down coming up. Concordia, that's a big stop for them. Getting Homestead's drive to stop in Homestead territory.
And there's some interesting thoughts to think about that possession right there. It looked good early. It looked like Slavin. He was taking his shots. He knew to throw it to Nate Anderson. And then that second play just looked antsy and threw the ball way behind Nate Anderson.
Coach Zolman going to opt to maybe keep this drive alive, go for it on 4th down. And scratch that, it's a QB punt. We see this a lot from the Spartans. Concordia was just as unprepared as about everybody else here. Nate Anderson gets it at the 40-yard line. And that's some pretty good results on the punt by Peyton Slavin. We see quarterback punts a lot by Coach Zolman. He had it with Luke Goody, and now with Peyton Slavin.
And that's a lot better than he punted last week. He only got a 27-yard punt last week. At this one, it's going to look like 33 yards. Definitely an improvement, and caught Concordia off guard, which is the most important thing, allowing Nate Anderson to stop the ball dead.
Now Concordia's drive starts in their own territory. Second drive of the game. 1st and 10 for the Cadets. Man in motion. Fake jet sweep up the gut with Jace Parnan, and he is stuffed at about the line of scrimmage. That was Jacob Scavo ending up on top of the pile with the tackle.
Jacob Scavo, Johnny Waddell bringing Jace Parnan down together. Homestead, they're not fooled in these jet sweeps. It was a little bit of an iffy jet sweep run by Concordia, a little bit of miscommunication. The ball bobbled about, but they were able to get the ball off, and Homestead, by that time, they were able to pick it up and get the stop.
Concordia, they love to run a very methodical pace on the offensive end. Chew time up, go with the jet sweeps, the runs over the deep bombs that Homestead prefers to use. 2nd and 10 for the Cadets. Eli Maddox alone in the backfield. A little screen incomplete to Dontrell Johnson.
Pass incomplete intended.
And that's another incompletion, another drop for the Cadets, and another 3rd down.
And it's another 3rd and long for Concordia. As Johnny Waddell, he's going to come out. Homestead, they're setting up a pass defense. They know what Concordia has to do. They know they have to put some trust in Eli Maddox throwing the deep ball, and it's going to be a matter of time until we actually see him throw it, most likely on this play here.
Expect the pressure to come from this Spartan defense on 3rd downs. Defensive coordinator Coach Meschel loves to send the house. Big 3rd and 10 here for Concordia. Another screen, and this one incomplete again, intended to James Rusher. And Concordia going to be forced to punt.
Great play there by Eben Pearson. He was able to go up the middle, get by center Alex Dankin, and just put the pressure on Maddox, forcing him to chuck the football away in an unconditional way.
And that's 3 drives between these two teams in these games and 3 punts, barring a fake punt here. So far, it's been a game all about defense.
We thought it was going to be that way. Last year, the game ended 7-0. Both teams playing pretty good defense, a little rough conditions. And this week, it looks like Homestead is going to be playing defense.
Jace Parnan wasn't ready for the snap, has to run it out, and he is sent out of bounds. He was looking towards the Homestead sideline as the ball was snapped. Miscommunication between the long snapper and punter, and now Homestead has ample field position.
And they're going to get the ball at the 41-yard line. I don't believe it. There was just miscommunication. The ball was hiked before Jace Parnan was even ready and just slipped through the hands. He had to improvise and wasn't able to go. As you see, Homestead wraps him up going out of bounds.
That is a huge momentum swing early in this game for Homestead, and a pretty unexpected one. You know, I'd expect something like that to happen on special teams.
Now Homestead, they can take their time. They can move the ball slowly downfield, take a couple downs, so they don't have to worry about being near their own end zone.
Jet sweep to Sparrow on 1st down. He's got blockers. He's got a lane. 1st down the field to the 15. He is gone. Touchdown, Spartans.
Sparrow on the sweep, 40 yards.
Gage Sparrow got right through the hole, had his blocks, and just went down the sideline, made his way to the sideline, tiptoeing his way into the end zone, and Homestead strikes early. It only took one play on that possession with good position, and they were able to strike.
And he just had daylight after plenty of blockers followed him along that right sideline. Just the perfect play, just as they wrote it up.
We saw Max Schultz pick up 2 blocks. They're taking 2 guys out just so Gay Sparrow can go in the end zone.
Extra point up and good for Cameron Gery. He remains perfect on the season. 5-4-5. Spartans lead 7-0 over Concordia. 6:15 left in the first. We got a dandy going right now.
What limits you? Too small, too old, insecure, broken. You have no limits. Rethink your limits.
Welcome back. Homestead up 7-0 after a wild sequence of events on special teams for the Concordia Cadets. A fumble between Jace Parnan and his long snapper on the punt. And then right after that, it was a jet sweep touchdown for Homestead on the first play of that drive. And now Concordia looking to return here. And he is stuffed before he can reach the 25-yard line. The Cadets, they need a response after that mistake on special teams that led to the touchdown.
And it wasn't just a mistake on special teams. It was great running by Gage Sparrow off the short slant route. He picked up the blocks, went behind his defenders, and creeped down the sideline just as an experienced wide receiver would do.
And you may notice the punter that we've been talking about, Jace Parnan, he barely leaves the field as he is the punter, the second string running back, and the wide receiver on the offensive end for this team. He plays a huge factor in this game.
And yeah, he almost has the same role as Max Schultz, who we also see barely leave the field. He plays defense, offense, and special teams.
1st and 10 for the Cadets, looking for a response after giving up the touchdown in one play on the last Homestead drive. Hands off to Jace Parnan, and he is stuffed in the backfield. Jacob Hayes got back there first, and Concordia stuffed at the line of scrimmage.
There were some questions about whether or not Jacob Heiss would be able to fill in the role of Austin Keyser, but he played well. Look at him wrapping up Jace Parnan. What an experienced play for the senior.
And now Concordia has to face 2nd down, 4 yards past the line of scrimmage. Eli Maddox out of his comfort zone so far early in this game. Another screen to Jace Parnan, and he is back there, cannot reach the line of scrimmage. Once again, the Spartans sniffing out this complicated.
Eli Maddox, he really wants to use Jace Parnan. As you can see, he's so shifty, and he's able to spin around so many Homestead defenders, but eventually he gets brought down by the Homestead defense.
And now another 3rd down for the Concordia Cadets. They haven't seen much success so far on 3rd downs, only converting one of them so far.
And it's another 3rd and long. It hasn't been looking good for Concordia's Homestead. They're able to get all these tackles for losses, get these sacks going. Concordia, they've got to figure out something, figure out a way for them to throw the ball and get it downfield.
3rd and 15 for the Cadets. James Rusher in motion. Eli Maddox drops back, another screen, and this one is sniffed out again. Dontrell Johnson couldn't get very far past the line of scrimmage. Eventually, Concordia is going to have to go a little farther down the field on these passes.
And yeah, the Homestead linebackers, they're able to pick him up. Like, it's not even a question of what the play is. Homestead's, their linebackers, their front 3, they're all able to figure out. They have this team all in their head right now.
Jace Parnan back there, punter again, looking not to make a similar mistake that he did last time. This time the snap gets to him, it's clean. And the ball sails out of bounds. A low-hanging punt, and Homestead will get the ball in Concordia territory.
And it looked as though maybe a Homestead player got their hand on the punt as that one sailed just left out of bounds. It was a low-seeming kick. It just went straight out left, and Homestead again has great field position at the 41-yard line.
And Homestead, the last time that they started a drive in Concordia territory, ended in a one-play touchdown. Coach Zolman looking for similar results here.
And you know Coach Zolman, he's antsy to just get another quick play like that keeps his offense nice and fresh, keeps them cool on the sideline, because we talked about it earlier, the weather is not cool. It is a hot day, it is humid, and players, they got to stay hydrated and stay rested.
Coach Zolman, this is his 18th year at Homestead. He's had quite the successful tenure with the Spartans. Had quite the time with the program, leading the team to sectionals, regionals. However, Homestead has not reached semi-state since 1998. Coach Zolman, he's got to love the way this roster is set up, looking for a postseason run this season.
And his recent success has to be a highlight for him, as this season might be the pinnacle of Homestead football over this huge stretch. Winning the SAC back-to-back years, coming back for a third, and this may be the most complete roster Homestead has ever had.
At the Concordia 41, first down for the Spartans. Slavin drops back, little screen to Gage Sparrow. He's got space again on the screen. Sheds a tackle. Here he goes to the right side. Cuts up field. Touchdown, Homestead. Gage Sparrow, 2 straight receptions, 2 touchdowns.
And I don't believe it. Gage Sparrow and Peyton Slavin, they had this connection last game, and here it is again. Gage Sparrow, he's shifty. He's able to do the defense. And you can see him going past 1 defender, 2 defenders, even a third breaking the tackle, and then it's a foot race, getting Nate Anderson's block going all the way to the end zone.
And what a fiery start in this first quarter for the Spartans, already forcing the students to do 13 quick push-ups here.
And the students, they're gonna start getting mad at Gage Sparrow when they're gonna have to start doing more and more push-ups if he keeps playing like this.
And they might have to do another one after Cameron Jarrett's PAT. It was right down the middle. 41-yard reception to Gage Sparrow. And just like that, Homestead takes the 14-0 lead.
Rethink your limits.
Degrees outside right now here in Fort Wayne, Indiana, and Homestead, they're thriving in the heat as first quarter isn't even over yet, and already 2 quick touchdowns for the Spartans.
Homestead's offense hasn't had much time on the field. It's just been the Concordia offense versus the Homestead defense getting all of the playing time, and we'll see if that stays the same way. If Homestead can keep getting these quick, easy touchdowns, the defense might get a little tired out.
Now Cameron Jarrett kicking off for the Spartans. Gets this one inside the 10. Bobbled, muffs it, and they're just going to call it a touchback as the ball sails harmlessly into the end zone.
And not good handles the special teams with another problem. They do get the field position at the 20-yard line, which is probably better than if he were to take it out of the back of the end zone. But here you go, Concordia, they have 80 yards to go against the defense they have not had much success against.
Eli Maddox, the junior quarterback, coming out again for the Concordia Cadets. So far, Concordia being shut out on the offensive end. Haven't gotten into the red zone yet.
They got close on the first drive, but after they only had 2 successful plays, and other than that, Homestead's had them figured out.
Drops back this time. He's going to go deep. He's got a man downfield. Robert Johnson couldn't reach him there as they were not on the same page there. The ball was to Robert Johnson. He just didn't appear to be ready for it.
And Jacob Heiss had a veteran move of staying on the inside of the football, not letting him get around to get the catch.
Now 2nd down pops up for Concordia. Seems like all game long they have spent with double-digit yardage to go before reaching the 1st down.
And
up the middle with Dontrell Johnson, and he is stuffed just past the line of scrimmage. Another 3rd down for the Cadets.
this has to be tiring out the offense. At least this 3rd down, they're not plus 10 yards. They actually only have 7 yards to go. It's better than what we've seen out of Concordia, but it's not ideal. They have to start getting their 1st downs. They have to start getting bigger plays.
And they have to stop opting for screens as well on these 3rd downs.
And it looks like Jackson Chrisman is down for Homestead. Looks like with a leg cramp, and that is not what you want to see for Homestead. Jackson Chrisman last week had 4 sacks against Northrop. He's so disruptive on the Homestead defensive line, and him going down. It's not what you want to see. It looks like he's fine walking it off in the end on the sideline.
And for now, Toriano Franklin going to come in for Jackson Chrisman. 8 tackles, 4 sacks, and 1 tackle for loss last week against the Northrop Bruins. Was a standout on the defensive end. And some laundry on the field before the snap.
It's going to be a false start on Concordia's offensive lineman jumped just before the play was ready to go.
And just like that, Concordia finds themselves again with double-digit yards to gain on 3rd down.
And Homestead, they're making some subs, getting some players out.
Orlando Sheets back there. We're on the field for Homestead. Evades the tackle is Eli Maddox, and that play went absolutely nowhere. Another 4th down deep in.
See Max Schiltz come around right here, reading the quarterback, bringing the pressure, doesn't get the tackle, but forces Maddox to throw the ball out as fast as he can. Could have been intentional grounding if the refs were looking at it that way, but it doesn't matter. It sets up another Homestead defensive 4th down.
He essentially did the legal version of intentional grounding there, just harmlessly to the ground in front of a few Homestead defenders. Just not much going right now in the passing game for Concordia.
And Concordia, they've got to get something figured out on offense. They have to run a trick play or something.
And this snap on the ground, Jace Parnon and his long snapper have not been on the same page so far in this 1st quarter. This time the punt goes past Concordia territory, and Homestead will start off at their own 49.
Homestead, they're starting out their 49, but that's only 8 yards more than they've started the last 2 drives, and we all know what happened the last 2 with Gage Sparrow getting quick, easy touchdowns going around the defenders, and we'll see if Peyton Slavin tries again at Gage Sparrow. You have to think if you're the Concordia defense, you've got to be watching number 3 out there.
Yeah, Gage Sparrow, number 3 over there on the far right side. He has been a threat so far in this 1st quarter.
And it hasn't just been this 1st quarter. He had 7 receptions for 77 yards last week versus Northrop.
1st down for the Spartans again. Handoff up the gut, and he does not get very far that time around. New running back out there is Pooch for the Homestead Spartans.
And 3rd string running back for Homestead, Brett Fuchs. Not able to get much up the middle, only able to get 2 yards, as Homestead elect to run after passing the ball a couple times.
Now 2nd and 8 for the Spartans. Slavin in the gun. Spartans run pretty much every single play out of the shotgun formation. Drops back, looking downfield toward Anderson. He's got him! Complete! How about another reception and another touchdown for the Spartans?
Homestead, Concordia's falling apart in the secondary right now, and Homestead is exposing it wide open. Nate Anderson, and it wasn't even a question. He was just trotting along, waiting to catch the ball. What a play by Peyton Slavin and Nate Anderson.
And the game through the air has been unstoppable so far for the Spartans. 2 touchdowns for Gage Sparrow, and now 1 for Nate Anderson.
And that's what Chad Zolman wanted to see happen. He wanted to see Peyton Slavin get comfortable throwing the football and launching it deep, and now he looks just perfectly intact.
PAT up and good again. Homestead, 3 touchdowns in this 1st quarter. Homestead already making this one look like a blowout.
What limits you? Too small, too old, insecure, broken. You have no limits. Rethink your limits.
You don't plan on getting an injury, so why should you plan ahead to care for one? At OrthoStat, you don't have to. Whether you get hurt on the job or on the field, or if you're experiencing sudden, localized pain, we fix the unexpected. Our walk-in clinics provide emergency access to a full range of diagnostic, non-surgical, and surgical treatments. And the best part is, there's never an appointment or referral needed. So you can get in, get out, and get going. OrthoStat is recognized by Anthem and other insurance plans as an alternative to the ER.
Gery preparing for the kickoff here. And ball bounces harmlessly into the end zone, and now we're going to send it down to sideline reporter Carly Flanagan, who's in front of the student section, who's at 100% capacity for the first time in a long time. Student section at 100% here at Davis Walters Memorial Stadium. 1st and 10 for the Cadets. Eli Maddox out there again looking to get Concordia their first touchdown as this game slowly becomes on the brink of a blowout. Handoff up the gut to Dontrell Johnson, and he gained some yardage here. Haven't seen much on the ground for Concordia, but there's some solid yardage for Johnson.
It was just a horde of Homestead defenders bringing him down. We talked about it during the Northrop game on the broadcast. Teams aren't going to be able to run the ball against Homestead. Their front three and middle three are just too elite. Another
handoff, and this time it's sniffed out by Matt Miller, the captain for this Spartan squad.
There's a reason Matt Miller is the all-SAC defensive end last year. He just wraps him up and brings him down like a veteran defensive end.
And now another 3rd down for the Cadets, this time inside single digits to get to the 1st down marker over there at the 30-yard line. Eli Maddox looking downfield towards Robert Johnson. Incomplete as the ball sails to the sideline. And another punt coming up for Concordia deep in their own territory.
And you have to think at this point, is Concordia, are they getting sick of the punting? And at this point, at one of these times, they might just have to go for it on 4th down. If Homestead keeps getting these electrifyingly large plays on offense, there might not even be that much of a point if they were to get a turnover on downs in their own territory.
Jace Parnin, the punter. Before this game, he had 3 punts, 37 yards per punt. His long in that game against Southside was 43 yards. A quick timeout here for Concordia before Jace Parnin goes out and boots this one.
And they might want to discuss talking about going for it on 4th down. They might be thinking, we're already down 3 possessions. We need to get a big play here. It might be best if we go for it.
And they may need to go for it eventually, as Concordia, you don't want to see this game go into mercy rule, which would be a 35-point lead for Homestead in the first half, which so far the Spartans, they made it clear that that's their aim. They could reach mercy rule if things don't turn around quickly for the Cadets.
The Spartans might be thinking about trying to get out of here before it turns dark, get home, get a good night's rest before a long Saturday of watching some film.
And here comes Jace Parnin to punt for Concordia. They will not be going for it this deep in their own territory. Some miscues so far between the long snapper and Jace Parnin. This time, long snapper gets it perfect. Bunt to Isaac Barkus. Cuts upfield to the 40. He's got some space. Couple men to beat. Makes a cut, and he is stopped just outside of the red zone. So far, Homestead, they just continue to have big plays.
And what a return by Isaac Barkus. You can see the senior right here going through the tackles, and now he's able to shed Big Bubba Craig, the left tackle for Concordia, just gets by him and is able to get an extra 5 yards before brought out of bounds behind where Concordia kicked the ball off from in the first place.
And Isaac Barkas, he has been such a big factor for the Spartans through these first 2 weeks. He's been working kick returns and punt returns a little bit alongside Nate Anderson, and he's found himself some time when it comes to wide receiver as well.
And Peyton Slavin just talking to the ref there, probably discussing, hey, you might have to blow the whistle now because I think I'm about to get a touchdown.
Gage Sparrow in motion, handoff up the gut. He breaks the tackle and gone. How about this Homestead offense so far? Brett Fuchs into the end zone for Homestead, and this game just continues to become a blowout.
And look at the hole created by the Homestead offensive line, able to give Brett Fuchs this run. It's the right guard, Jackson Bell, and center Carter Hall, able to just create that separation, give him the hole, and Brett Fuchs was gone.
Another extra point for Cameron Jarrett coming up, 100% on the season so far. Snap, hold, both good, and the extra point, easy. Senior. Homestead up 28-0, and we're still in the first quarter.
What limits you? Too small, too old, insecure, broken. You have no limits. Rethink your limits.
Homestead up 28-0 with 50 seconds left in the first quarter. It has been a blowout so far. Homestead looking to send this one to the mercy rule very early in this game. But here's a big return by Concordia and finally brought down just outside of the 45-yard line. Robert Johnson almost had a hole to the end zone there for the Cadets.
And if it wasn't for Eben Pearson, it was just going to be Cameron Johnson versus Cameron Jarrett, which would not be the most ideal matchup. But let's talk about Cameron Jarrett real quick. He, as a kicker, came in from Noblesville, senior on the soccer team, decided to come out for the football team, play kicker as a backup to Carter Dixon, and he's perfect so far through 2 games.
He's gotten his time to shine, certainly. He was supposed to be a backup, but these first 2 weeks, Carter Dixon has been out of play. And Cameron Jarrett, he has really taken the spotlight and ran with it, perfect on PATs, field goals, and his punts haven't looked too bad either. First down for the Cadets. Eli Max drops back, looking deep towards Johnson. Incomplete. Tight defense from Ethan Dorsey there. Forced completion.
And Ethan Dorsey playing some lockdown corner as a contested ball, almost picked it off just through his hands. And just what a play by Ethan Dorsey, staying on the receiver and on the football.
And Ethan Dorsey, he's coming in as the starter today for Aaron Wagner, who is not playing. He is out of today's game, and Ethan Dorsey, with big plays like that, certainly has stepped up to the challenge.
And he definitely has. He might even be making his case for a starter spot. We know it's very competitive in that cornerback room with Desmond Smith Jr. and Aaron Wagner as the normal starters.
Handoff up the gut to Dontrell Johnson, and he is stuffed. Way back there, Max Schultz, the captain, middle linebacker, made the tackle. And a third down once again for the Cadets.
And it's another third down and long. And Homestead, they're running a good strategy so far, getting Johnny and getting their starting defensive ends out of the game for these third and long plays, knowing that Concordia, they have to go deep on their passes.
And the Cadets, it looks like they're going to opt to let the clock roll. And the first quarter ends. Homestead up 28. So far, it's been all Spartans.
What limits you? Too small, too old, insecure, broken. You have no limits. Rethink your limits.
Welcome back after one quarter of play. Homestead up 28-0, and we're going to send it down to sideline reporter Carly Flanagan on the track.
Hey, Brayden. So, as I can see from the student section in front of me, they are so excited to be here because we haven't had a full capacity student section since October of 2019. I talked to some seniors, and they said that they will never take a Friday Night Lights event like this for granted ever again. Brayden, back to you.
Thank you, Carly. Certainly is a great experience here for the seniors who last year it was in question whether or not they would see Friday Night Lights with a full capacity student section again, and here they are, week 2 against Concordia, back at Dave S. Walters, and the crowd is here, and they are alive and well.
And there's nothing like a Homestead football crowd to get the energy going, get the feels on the players, and you can tell these Homestead players, they're feeding off of this every touchdown, running over to the student section, saying hi to their buddies in the stands, cheering them on, and they're just having a great time out there tonight.
A Spartan penalty on that last play. It would have been 3rd and 12, but instead it'll be a first down for the Cadets. And they have ample field position here, which we haven't seen much so far from the Cadets. Most of this game they have been in Homestead's red zone on the offensive side. Now they're here at the 41-yard line in Homestead territory.
See Max Schultz trying to get the defense going, clapping his hands together. That's the captain right there in the middle of the Homestead defense.
Eli Maddox drops back, looking towards Jace Parnan, and way over his head, incomplete. So far, Eli Maddox hasn't seen much success through the air in this game.
And Jace Parnan, the intended receiver, there's a miscommunication there. As you saw, he tried to spin around Des Smith Jr., who had him on locks, and the ball sailed 10 yards over his head.
A timeout taken by Concordia. Head coach Mike Eschbach looking to talk things over. Spartans up 28-0 over the Cadets. 11:48 left in the second quarter. Concordia looking for a response.
Rethink your limits.
Welcome back to Dave S. Walters Memorial Stadium. Spartans up big, 28-0 over the Concordia Cadets. Week 2, Mike Eschbach 1-0 so far as the head coach of the Concordia Cadets, and right now he's got quite the challenge ahead of him in this second quarter, down 28.
Eschbach, he has to figure out what he's going to do about the Homestead defense. He can't get anything going, can't get any runs going up the middle, and so far the largest play for his offense has been a penalty.
Now Eli Maddox back out there in the gun for the Concordia Cadets, looking for any sign of life from this offense. Drops back looking towards his receiver, and it is incomplete. Robert Johnson had some space on Isaac Barkas and Ethan Dorsey, but couldn't get the ball towards him.
And Eli Maddox just looks a little bit too antsy. He's throwing the ball over all of his receivers' heads, overestimating how much strength he has. He just has to get in his momentum, get in his feels if he wants to actually start making some completions.
And he's going over to the sideline a lot to talk with head coach Mike Eschbach. Coach Eschbach probably looking to just settle his nerves a little bit. He knows he's down 28-0, but he has to stay calm and just look for a comeback here. 3rd and 10 for Concordia. Pocket collapses, and he is sacked way back, and a flag on the field as Eli Maddox's helmet comes off. This may be a face mask, and it might be an automatic first down.
Definitely going to be a face mask. Evan Pearson came in and just went for the tackle, grabbed the helmet, and you see he just ripped it straight off of his head. It came off like loose candy, and I believe that means Eli Maddox is going to have to go off for a play without his helmet, and sophomore Joe Gernhardt is going to come in.
That is quite the face mask as well.
It's definitely an accident, not intentional.
It's not going to be an automatic first down for Concordia. The rules are a little different in high school. However, it will be 15 yards up the field from the spot of the foul, which was way back past the line of scrimmage. 3rd and 8 for the Cadets. Eli Maddox out there, rolls right, looking downfield. He's got a man, James Rusher, in the red zone. Concordia finally finds themselves in.
And it is about time. Concordia, they made their way to the red zone finally, and now they're knocking on the door of getting their first touchdown of the game.
James Rusher, the junior tight end. Last week he had 3 receptions for 28 yards, and there's his first major reception of this game, and it's a big one to gain some momentum for Concordia.
And finally, Concordia looks like they're ready to get going as they set up. Homestead has their starting defense back in, though. They want to keep this game as a shutout. They probably want to head into the half game, keeping a 0 on Concordia's scoreboard.
Eli Maddox looking towards the end zone. Caught! Hung on to it. What a snag and grab by Xander Pratt. The senior wideout gets Concordia their first touchdown of the game.
And finally, Concordia is able to get something going. And look at this catch by Xander Pratt. The ball thrown in. He gets hit hard and holds on. What a play by Xander Pratt.
That's great defense by Isaac Barkas, but just what a grab. Wow, from Xander Pratt, the backup wideout, coming in and saving the day.
And I can't believe he held onto that football after the hard hit by Isaac Barkas knocking him to the floor.
Sam Bruno's BAT sails
The extra point is good.
in and is 28-7. Finally hits the board, and now Homestead needs a response. Homestead up 28-7 after the Concordia touchdown. Xander Pratt got himself in the end zone on a big reception for the Cadets. And another score in the SAC is Carroll, without Jeff Becker, finds himself up late in the first half over the Snyder Panthers, 13-7. A lot of people doubted how Carroll would play without their star quarterback, but so far, with the lead getting closer and closer to halftime, you have to be impressed with the way the Chargers are playing shorthanded.
You have to be very impressed with that, considering how stacked the Snyder defense is.
Nate Anderson off the return for Homestead. Heading to his right, he's got a lane, he's got some blockers, cuts up field, and he is finally tripped up deep. Well, not deep into Concordia territory, but got past the 50-yard line. That's a big return for the Spartans.
And we talked about Nate Anderson. If he finally got a chance to return a kick, he could do a great job picking up, going behind the block here. Sees Max Schultz with the block, gets a couple more yards there, and gets all the way down to the 45-yard line.
And there's a flag on the field. And this return by Nate Anderson is going to be coming back, a holding on the Spartans very early in the return. This ball goes inside the 20.
And that's very unfortunate for Nate Anderson. He had such a big play there, running smart behind his blockers, but eventually it has to go all the way back because of a holding penalty.
First and 10 for the Spartans. Looking to respond to Concordia's first touchdown of this game on their last drive. Slavin handoff up the gut. And oh, he breaks free. Here goes Fuchs deep. What a run by Brett Fuchs as he gets into Concordia territory.
And Brett Fox was able to go all the way down the right side. His speed going way past all the Concordia players. Takes a hard hit, but this speed by Brett Fox, Cam Johnson, Desmond Smith Jr. is unmatched in the SAC. They've got 3 guys deep in the running back room, and that's a threat. I'd say it's a big threat to the rest of the SAC because you never know who's Homestead's going to run after you.
Yeah, Brett Fox, this is his first time getting varsity playing time, and so far he's looked pretty good for the Spartans. Slavin deep downfield. He's got Anderson wide open. Another touchdown for the Spartans. Make that 2 for number 2.
Nate Anderson wide open, burned right past Carter Ripke, and he had no shot of keeping up. That is Nate Anderson's speed right there on the post route. You see him coming around, just turning and just completely losing Ripke. Wide open for a touchdown. Peyton Slavin threw it right into the basket.
Anderson, he is just so deadly on those post routes. Look at all of the space that he had, about 5 yards of space on Carter Ripke.
And how about Peyton Slavin's arm, throwing the ball 50 yards downfield effortlessly.
And the extra point is also effortlessly for Cameron Jarrett. 35 push-ups for those Spartan students. They're going to be tired by the end of this game. 35-7 over Concordia.
What limits you? Too small, too old, insecure, broken. You have no limits. Rethink your limits.
Big touchdown for Nate Anderson, the standout wideout for the Spartans, his second of the game on that last drive as Homestead takes the 37 lead. And what a turnaround from this Homestead offense. When you look back at last season, it was 7-0, the victory that Homestead got out. And that is a fumbled return by Concordia. They're going to take it downfield anyways and not going to get very far. But that game last season, Homestead barely won 7-0, 5 turnovers for that Spartan offense in the damp and cold rain at Concordia's field. They have found a way to manage in this game, and they have dominated.
And you're talking about what a turnaround for Homestead, and I'll tell you what, that game was sloppy. There was a lot of weather issues, a lot of fumbles, interceptions, balls were flying all over the place. But
and there's a major false start by the Cadets.
And back to that game last year, it was a low-scoring game. Concordia's defense, they really showed up that game. They held Homestead to only 7 points. Their offense wasn't able to get going as the Homestead defense just slightly outmatched Concordia's. And this year, what a turnaround. The pieces are all falling into place. All the wide receivers are running the right way, and Peyton Slavin's looking outstanding.
Eli Maddox's throw almost intercepted by Carter Coop. He got a paw out there, but could not make the interception. They have spent so much time deep in their own territory, and that was almost a big miscue deep.
And you saw Matt Miller there creeping up on Eli Maddox, getting him scared, forcing him to throw that ball away so that it wouldn't end in a safety.
Now a 2nd and 15 for the Concordia Cadets at their own 10-yard line. Eli Maddox uncomfortably close to his own end zone. Another short screen, and this one's incomplete. in and out of the hands of Xander Pratt, who had the touchdown of the game for Concordia earlier.
And they're electing to keep him in the game, although he started as a backup. That one just went right through the hands, and that's maybe the reason he's not quite a starter, although he had that great first play earlier in the game.
That's the kind of completion you need to make if you're Concordia. He had some space, but just could not get his hands around the greased pig. And now it's 3rd and 15 for Concordia, and they need a conversion here. Eli Maddox alone in the backfield, drops back into his own end zone, scrambles. He's got a man along the sideline. It's Robert Johnson. Breaks upfield, but Max Schiltz in the way of a first. They make that another 4th down for Concordia.
And Eli Maddox looked a lot better under pressure there, but Max Schiltz and Eben Pearson were just able to wrap him up, and that's the linebacker experience that Homestead has. The middle linebacker and the outside linebacker able to stuff the play.
Jace Parnan standing at his own 11-yard line to punt this one away. And this deep in your own side of the field, you can't have any special teams mistakes.
And if I'm Concordia, I almost might be considering a fake here as they're down 28 with only 5 yards to go.
That was almost blocked as the Homestead front line got way too close to Jace Parnan. The ball sails into the sideline at the 45. Homestead, once again, great territory to start off this drive.
And that's all Homestead need. They only need 45 yards to get a touchdown, and we've seen big play after big play. Peyton Slavin twice to Gage Sparrow, and then twice to Nate Anderson, who easily his 2 favorite wide receivers, and we'll see if he does something again.
Spartans just 1 touchdown away from achieving the mercy rule, which will have a rolling clock for the rest of the game. That's the goal here. Get the touchdown and let the clock roll. 1st and 10 for the Spartans. Slavin in the gun. Man in motion, fakes the jet sweep up the gut with Fox, and this time he's not going to break free again. But he's still yards about 4 or 5 on that carry.
And how about that yardage for Brett Fox? He's only 5'10", 150 pounds as a sophomore, and he was able to push 3 guys on the Concordia defensive line to get all the way out 5 yards to set up a 2nd and 6.
Peyton Slavin and the rest of that Spartan offense looking over to the sideline. Offensive coordinators barking the signals. Man in motion, fakes the jet sweep again. Read option going nowhere. Peyton Slavin, who has found much success on the ground, stuffed in the backfield by Tim Okiawo.
And Okiawo picked up on that play, did not get fooled, ran through and just wrapped up Peyton Slavin. If you're Chad Zolman, you don't want to be considering those QB sneaks, putting your young quarterback who's playing great so far in harm's way.
Big chance for Concordia here to shut down Homestead before they can get another touchdown. 3rd and 8.
You can tell Homestead's starting to get a lot more experimental with their run game as they're up 28 and they have that cushion.
Short pass, Nate Anderson complete, and he is just short of the line to gain. That was Carter making the tackle and forcing a 4th down.
And finally, Carter Ripke getting a little bit of redemption, wrapping up Nate Anderson. It looks like the ball actually came out, and it's going to be an incomplete pass. What a play by Carter Ripke, punching the ball out before Nate Anderson could seal it in.
It appeared as if he took a few steps. That very well could have been a fumble, but instead it will be an incompletion. And Coach Zolman aiming for the mercy rule here. They will go for it on 4th down. Payne Slavin in the gun. Concordia bringing the house. And incomplete. Could not get a clean pass to Zach Zolman. And Concordia, that's a big stop for their defense, and it allows Eli Maddox and this offense to go back out on the field.
And Peyton Slavin got hit right as he was trying to get the ball out. Don't blame him for the pass going way short as he got rocked.
Concordia, that blitz just came in, and there was nothing they could do. Only one offensive lineman was able to hold his man.
And that was left guard Jaden Abahaka holding his man, the senior captain. He is so great at what he does on the offensive line.
First down carry for Concordia goes nowhere. Dontrell Johnson, who had 24 carries for 98 yards, has not had the most productive first half so far for this Concordia offense. Really, that's been the story of this entire first half for Concordia, just not able to get the ball down the field.
And Homestead's defense is definitely a big credit to that. They're stuffing the run, they're blocking the short passes, and they're forcing Eli Maddox to throw the ball deep. And granted, he hasn't been very good at throwing the ball deep these days. Has a lot of overthrows, and Concordia is not able to get big plays because of that.
And Eli Maddox wasn't ready for the snap there. It appears as if nobody was except for center Alex Donkey. Handoff to Dontrell Johnson ends up with nothing.
And Johnny Waddell, you'll see Matt Miller coming from the left side, and then Johnny Waddell able to just stuff him short.
Now another third down for Concordia. This one at the initial line of scrimmage. And they need a first down here, 7:35 left in the second quarter. Homestead one touchdown away from forcing a mercy rule and essentially putting this game to rest early.
If Concordia is not able to get the first down right here, they have to go for it on fourth down, almost halfway down the field.
And he has Dontrell Johnson open, bobbled the catch, but got it just barely. And a first down for Concordia. He almost dropped that one, but he got his hands around it, made up field, first down.
And a captain move by Dontrell Johnson, tipping the ball to himself, knows he doesn't have the best angle to make the catch, and just almost tipped it forward, spun around, caught it, and got the extra yards that he wouldn't have if he tried to make that catch on the first go.
Now Concordia back in Homestead territory. They've turned things around in these last few drives. Eli Maddox rolling back, finds Dontrell Johnson again. Big hit from Max Schultz. That's how you set the tone on that set of...
And Max Schultz getting the crowd going. You hear them getting loud. Unfortunately, was a five-yard play for Concordia and just hits him dead. Hits Dontrell Johnson down to the ground. He might be a little shaken up after that play as he was slow to get up.
Both Max Schultz and Dontrell Johnson a little slow to get up. Max Schultz actually going to be on the sideline here. That was quite the hit. Jacob Scavo coming in for the captain. An injury timeout on the field, just taking some time for Max Schultz.
Looks like Dontrell Johnson as well. Both of them, they had a big collision. Max Schultz knocked him to the ground. A lot of vibration going on there. Can jostle some things up as Dontrell Johnson's getting checked out on the sideline.
First, 2nd and 5 for Concordia. And a timeout for the Cadets as they had a lot of players coming on and off the field. And that was the final timeout for Concordia. Coach Eschbach did not like what he saw there.
No, he did not, and especially without Dontrell Johnson. It's very not what you want to see if you're Concordia, seeing Dontrell Johnson walk off with his helmet in his hand, all shaken up and getting checked out. And Concordia, they're going to have to go with a new game plan because Dontrell Johnson, he seems to be the only guy able to get something going for Concordia's offense.
Max Schultz going to remain on the sideline for that Homestead defense. As Jacob Scavo, number 19, checks in for the 5'11", 170-pound senior who has been such an important player for this Homestead secondary.
And Jacob Scavo is one of the most fun players to watch on the football field. He's always smiling, always having a good time. He tells me that he sings songs as he's setting up to blitz, gets himself going, gets himself in the mood, ready to come after the quarterback.
2nd and 5 for Concordia. Tim Okiowo in there for running back. Play action. Toss to James Rusher, complete, and he is knocked down by Evan Person. And both got in there to make the stop. 3rd down coming up.
And a great look pass getting to the open man. Just brought down Homestead linebackers doing their job, only allowing for a 2-yard gain.
3rd and short for the Cadets. Only 2 yards to gain here, which is much better than what we have seen a few times throughout this game. They've had a lot of 3rd and 15s, a lot of 3rd and 10s. Now, only 2 yards to gain in order to move those chains.
And we'll see if they're able to do it without their running back, or with their running back having questionable feelings.
Bobbled snap. Tim Okiowo able to recover it. Can he get to the first down line? No, he cannot. Stuffed at the line of scrimmage. And a fourth down coming up. Big stop there by Jacob Hayes.
And miscommunication, but it was a great look for Concordia. He was able to pick it up and get it going, sneaking by Jackson Chrisman, but Jacob Heiss was there to make the tackle and send it to fourth down.
Now 4th and 3, Concordia is going to opt to go for it here. With 5:17 left in the second quarter, they need every chance they can get at a touchdown. Pocket folds, and he is sacked in the backfield. Tyler Latwinko got him.
What a play by Homestead's defense. You can see Tyler Latwinko, Jackson Chrisman brought him down. It's another sack for Jackson Chrisman. Brought down the quarterback, and it's a turnover on downs. Homestead needs this, and then, like we've been saying, one touchdown away from the mercy rule.
And that's the goal here for the Spartans. Peyton Slavin, number 18, just his second start of the season in the second game. Second start on varsity as well, and he has looked stunning so far. Whistles blown and flag thrown. False start on the Spartans.
And Peyton Slavin does not look happy with that call. It looked like Homestead was just doing their normal bit of standing up to the line of scrimmage and then looking over to get a play call. The refs weren't having it, though. They haven't done it much in this game, and this might be why.
Just a mental miscue there by the Spartans. Not many of those compared to the game against Northrop last week, where that first half was full of penalties.
And we'll see if Slavin, with 6 quarters almost under his belt, we'll see what he's able to do to bring us to halftime.
Play action rolls left. He's got Anderson on the sideline, makes the grab, and gains back the yards lost on that false. And then some.
And this is what you want to see if you're Coach Zolman. Slavin to Nate Anderson, that's going to be the pair you're looking at all season. We're all going to be watching it. Slavin to Anderson, just watch out for all season. If that's getting going, which it has this game, more games are going to look like this one right now.
2nd and 7 for the Spartans. Being Slavin out there for quarterback. He has played all 5.5 quarters that he has starred in. Hand up the gut. Whistle's blown, but they're going to let the play go out, and it is Fox up the field moving the chains.
Brett Fox has looked very impressive in this game so far. He's able to find all the little holes you see. Just goes right through the hole created by his offensive line, getting the first down for Homestead, and he is fast. One of the best runners on the track team for Homestead, and he's only a sophomore.
1st and 10 for the Spartans. Slavin downfield deep. Incomplete. Could not get it to Mason Auxier.
Just out of the reach of Mason. Had the look. It looked like more of a miscue on Mason as far as the ball was perfectly placed, just a little bit outside of him.
The 5'10", 130-pound junior. That ball just out of reach. And now 2nd and 10 for the Spartans.
And we'll see if this passing is able to get going. Gage Sparrow and Nate Anderson have been the main targets tonight.
Slavin drops back, looking towards Anderson. He's got him behind the line of scrimmage. Upfield, breaks the tackle, and he is stopped at about the 38-yard line. Couldn't quite to the first down marker. That's going to be a short 3rd down coming up.
And that was a beautiful comeback route by Nate Anderson, knowing he has speed. Knowing he has speed that he can work with when he has that space, just came back to the line of scrimmage wide open and pushed forward for 8 yards.
3rd and 2 for Homestead. Brett Fox out there at running back for the Spartan defense. An unfamiliar face, but he has been playing excellent so far. And there he goes, breaking free for another run inside the red zone and tripped up out of bounds. Finally by Dontrell Johnson. Great game so far for Brett Fox, who's having his first varsity time.
And starting the season, he was the number 3 running back in the room, but he's really making a bid to be running back number 1, which, if you're Coach Zolman, that might be ideal, giving Des Smith Jr. some rest as he makes it all the way down to the 16-yard line with that speed.
And Homestead back in the red zone again. Peyton Slavin barking orders to Brett Fox to get right next to him. Jet sweep to Gage Sparrow, and he is wrapped up by the ankles. That was James Rusher making the stop.
And James Rusher finally picking up at it. You see him come around, bully pass, and just bring down Gage Sparrow.
2nd and 9 for the Spartans. A touchdown here, and the clock will roll. 3:30 left in the second quarter. Of course, when a game gets to 35 points with relatively new rules in IHSAA, the clock will go to a rolling clock.
And that will probably be Homestead's main goal. Less time for their players to get injured, more time for them to get comfortable.
Slavin downfield. He's got Isaac Barkus inside the 10-yard line, complete.
We haven't seen much of Isaac Barkus playing wide receiver this game. He played quite a bit last game, but there he is. He comes in often inside the red zone because he's tall and he's able to get over a lot of the smaller corners and linebackers on the opposing teams.
Isaac Barkus, he is pretty much a two-way player for this Spartan team, and he has seen quite some success at wide receiver, as that's just another completion for Barkus. 1st and goal for the Spartans, inching towards the end zone. Hand off to Fox up the middle, and he is stuffed this time by a horde of cadets.
And it looked like just all of Concordia's defensive line picked up on that. The hole closed very quickly for Fox.
Bubba Craig was the one who made that tackle for Concordia, and it's tough to get by him with that 6'8", 340 frame.
Yeah, Bubba Craig, he is a freak of nature. He's 6'8", 340 pounds, and he's pretty quick. He's someone you're going to hear a lot about when listening to talks about the SAC.
2nd and 6, handoff to Fox. He's in the end zone. Touchdown, the first touchdown for Brett Fox, and the mercy rule goes for the Spartans.
And Brett Fox right there, we talked about how Bubba Craig was a big worry for him. Booming right past Bubba Craig with his speed, ball and shifting. You'll see him go right up the middle and just getting right past all of Concordia's defensive line into the end zone.
Not quite a mercy rule yet. First, the extra point by Cameron Jarrett has to go in, but he's been perfect this season. Hopefully not going to pull a commentator's jinx here. Happens so many times with kickers. And not this time, as it goes down the middle, 42-7. Big lead before halftime.
Rethink your limits.
Spartans up 42-7 after that touchdown by Brett Fox. Muffed kickoff for Concordia, and he is wrapped up inside the 10-yard line. Xander Pratt could get nowhere there, and with the 42-7 lead, Spartans, the mercy rule is now enacted. There's Pratt just wrapped up before he could even reach the 10-yard line. And with the mercy rule, when the point differential between teams is at or reaches 35 points, which it has, at 42-7, the game clock goes to a running clock. It does not stop during play. only for timeouts, scores, and injuries. The clock can't revert back to standard timing after the 35-point margin is reached, and it remains in effect for the entire game. And intercepted! Eli Maddox threw an interception right to the defender. Big pick six for the Spartans. Jacob Hayes got his paws around it. What a mistake.
And it was just a matter of time until Homestead got an interception, especially within Concordia was deep in their own territory. And just a miscue, miscommunication with his wide receiver, and Jacob Hayes was all over, and you see him running all the way around, ensuring that he gets that pick six.
Cameron Jarrett not going to get much rest after that last PAT and kickoff, as he's immediately back out there for this point after.
And how about Cameron Jarrett? He remains perfect. It doesn't matter how much rest he gets. He's a soccer player. He can deal with endurance. He starts almost all the soccer games for Homestead in center midfield. He's got endurance, and that shouldn't be a problem for him.
The extra point also not a problem. Homestead extends their lead off the Jacob Hayes pick six, 49. Homestead up 49-7 over Concordia. This kickoff after the pick six, and the return going nowhere. As with that 49-7 lead, starting at the second half, so after halftime, the set and a rolling clock will start once the clock starts in the second half.
And it looks like Homestead's going to take as much advantage of these final seconds of the first half, keeping most of their starters still out on the field. And Homestead's defense, they've really showed up. Besides one possession for Concordia's offense, they've just been stopped.
Now Concordia going back out there again. Eli Maddox hands off to Dontrell Johnson, goes nowhere. Jackson Chrisman in the backfield, quick for Homestead.
And another tackle for loss for Jackson Chrisman. He's so quick and is able to get around Bubba Craig and just wraps him up. Or a tackle for loss. What a play by Jackson Chrisman.
Jackson Chrisman, he had a huge game against Northrop last week. 8 tackles, 4 sacks, and he is looking just as productive tonight against Concordia.
And that front three for Homestead, the typical starters for Homestead, are unstoppable. You can't get by them. No amount of offensive line can protect you from them.
2nd and 10, handoff to Johnson again. And once again, stuffed in the backfield, Jackson Chrisman on the ground with the tackle.
And Jackson Chrisman decided he's going to go up for the rest of the night. Look at him. He's not waiting until halftime to keep going. Just comes in there with the initial contact, and then the rest of Homestead's able to wrap him up.
3rd and 12 for the Concordia Cadets. Have not been very productive on 3rd down so far, and deep in their own territory with the clock winding down. They may not even go for this. They might just let go to half. They will hand it off to Dontrell Johnson. And then that's 3 handoffs to Johnson and 3 stops at or before the line of scrimmage. And now the Cadets will let the clock roll. And Homestead will head into the locker rooms up 49-7.
And what a play, what a half by Homestead. Their defense was able to show up and just played spectacular football. The entire Homestead offense and defense just worked so well together. Slavin with an explosive first half, and then the entire defense, front three and linebackers were just playing great.
Homestead, they have just dominated this second half as they will go into the next second half, or they dominated the first half. They will go into the second half with the rolling clock right there and then. And now we're going to go down to sideline reporter Carly Flanagan with Coach Zolman after a fiery first half.
All right, Coach Zolman, would you say that after we're leading 49-7 with this huge offensive outburst, how would you assess your team's play in this first half?
Well, that's a pretty good first half. I mean, offensively, we did pretty much what we wanted to, and defensively, we had a couple breakdowns, a couple penalties, but other than that, they played really well and are flying around with the football, so they're doing a good job.
Okay, thank you. Brayden, back to you.
Thank you, Carly. Just a fantastic first half for Coach Zolman. 49-7, Spartans dominating through 24 minutes.
Coming onto the field are the
Here at Homestead High School Media, we're taking steps to stay safe during the COVID-19 pandemic. That includes limiting the number of workers in the TV studio and wearing masks when not on camera. We also socially distance our anchors each week at the news desk. In the studios, we limit the number of people allowed in at a time, and even our mics wear masks. Thank you for doing your part in helping fight COVID-19.
At the end of one half, Spartans up 49-7 over the Concordia Cadets. It has been a dominating game through the first 24 minutes of this one. I'm Brayden Carroll, joined by Anthony Gery. This is the OPS halftime report, and let's start off looking at the SAC standings. And it's got to be a little surprising to see teams like Bishop Luers near the top, tied at the top, after that win that they had against Carroll in a fantastic game between Jeff Becker and Garson Clark.
Bishop Luers, they really showed up to that game versus Carroll, and they deserve their spot at the top of the SAC standings, sitting at tied for first place right now. Right now they're struggling against Carroll, who dropped their first game to Snyder. But Bishop Luers, very impressive going over to Carroll and beating them in their brand new stadium.
Then Homestead and Dwenger and Snyder, those are three teams that you expect to see at the top, and they both pulled out their Week 1 wins. And Bishop Dwenger over Wayne, Snyder over Northside, Homestead versus Northrop. No problem for those three. And through that first half, it was just a fiery game for quarterback Peyton Slavin, who stepped up to the plate and had himself a fantastic first half.
And yeah, Peyton Slavin did it with ease. He didn't even have to throw the ball that many times to rack up the stats. He was 7 for 11 with 179 yards in just one half. Those are not rookie numbers. Those are not numbers you see out of a junior quarterback. That's someone you see out of one of the best players in the state.
Now let's go to news in the SAC. First off, In the Blitz power poll, Snyder and Northside, they're ranked 1 and 2 after Snyder defeated Northside. Certainly, Blitz thinks that matchup was between the two best teams in the area.
And they definitely have a reason to believe that, too. That game was fought back and forth. Bronte Johnson played very, very well as well. In this Snyder, their defense, we've all heard about their defense, playing very, very well, and they are showing up. They showed up. They were able to stop Northside and played incredible.
And the AP poll, half of the SAC ranked so far, and outside the SAC, East Noble, first school in the area to go online. Sports suspended until at least September 1st. And now we're going to go down into the Spartan Alliance Band with their performance of This is Sparta.
A round of applause for the Homestead Spartan Alliance Band.
And that was This Is Sparta by the Spartan Alliance Band, award-winning band in the last several decades, one of the most decorated bands in all of the nation, and fantastic performance. I'll tell you, that saxophone solo was phenomenal.
It was beautiful, music to my ears.
And we're going to take a break after that stupendous performance. At halftime, Homestead up 49-7 over Concordia. Welcome back to the OPS halftime report. Homestead up 49-7, and now commemorative ceremony to the 1970 Homestead football squad. The original football players here: Greg Bender, Paul Bowers, Mike Carmer, Russ Clark, Wade DeSelm, Kip Ellis, Herb Gaunt, Ralph Hayes, Bud Cooker, Mike Loomis, Tom Osborne, Rex Trotman, Doug Platt, Greg Ray, Tom Rogers, Joe Sutton, Verla Van Hoosen, Brad Williams, Peter Weil, and Rick Yarger. That 1970 team, no seniors, managed to go 4-3-1 in their first season. You have to be impressed with how this team went.
Oh, and that's very impressive, especially for a small farm school that Homestead started out to be. No seniors on the football team, just a bunch of young bucks going 4-3-1. It's very impressive, and you can look and see where the program has gone. Not just the football team, but the team as a whole. You see the construction off on the left side of your camera, brand new Homestead being built. It's just incredible how far we've come.
And this Spartan football program, like you said, is evolved so much. 1997, Homestead found themselves state runner-ups. And then in recent years, Coach Chad Zolman has led the Spartans to an unprecedented amount of success, reaching sectionals, regionals, seemingly on a year-to-year basis, winning the SAC 2 times in a row. The Spartan standard has just exponentially gone up in the last 50 years.
And I know it might be early to say this, but the Spartans are knocking on the door of a three-peat in the SAC, and all these guys from 50 years ago playing on the football team, they have to be impressed with how far this team has come, seeing all these other young guys out here playing their hearts out in front of the full Homestead crowd.
And let's talk a little bit about the first half stats from today's game. Concordia, the big thing to talk about is -2 rushing yards in their 15 attempts. They have just not had any success on the ground, and it has played a huge factor in what so far is a Spartan blowout.
And that's no surprise. Homestead has played, they have their defense set up to the point where you can't run the ball against them. They've got the 3 starters up front: Johnny Waddell, Jackson Chrisman on the right, and Matt Miller on the left. Those 3 guys alone could take on 5 or 6 offensive linemen, and the team will still struggle. Then you back that up with 3 linebackers: Avon Pearson, Max Schultz, and Carter Koob. It's a threat, and no team can run against that defense.
And the biggest difference between these two teams statistically has been the average yards per play. Homestead with 14 yards per play, and Concordia, get this, 2.1 yards per play. That is a unprecedented difference between these two teams. You hardly expect it to even get close to those numbers.
And that just shows how many big plays Homestead's had. Peyton Slavin has gotten the chance to show off his arm that everybody was talking about. He really didn't get that chance as they were being very cautious with Slavin in the Northrop game. But now you're seeing them take shots with Slavin. Saw 2 deep passes, 2 deep post routes to Nate Anderson that were very, very incredible arm talents and catching abilities.
And it really has been all about big plays, as Homestead only 7 first downs compared to Concordia's 15. You look at those stats and you think, well, Concordia has to be in the lead, or at least making this one close, but Homestead 49-7. It's been all about those big bombs downfield by Peyton Slavin.
And Slavin, he's showing that he can be a starting quarterback. It's almost a repeat as it was with Evan Ormsby last year. Ormsby, he got comfortable in the 3rd game of the season, and he was able to start throwing the ball deeper and deeper, and that's exactly what Slavin's doing.
And let's talk a little bit about games outside of the SAC. First off, in what may be a shock to a whole lot of people, Northrop's only up 14-6 over Southside at the half. Southside, of course, playing against their former quarterback, Roosevelt Norfleet III, and so far, they have a chance to pull off the upset.
And a Southside upset would be one of the most incredible things. Southside is starting less than 30 players on the field tonight. That's less than 30 guys that are playing their hearts out to take down their former quarterback.
Carroll also finds themselves up at half over the Snyder Panthers despite not having star quarterback and South Dakota State commit Jeff Becker.
And that's very impressive, showing that Carroll's offense is a lot more than just their quarterback. They entered the season expected to be the biggest, the most powerful, the most efficient quarterback in the SAC. And they're showing that they're more than just their quarterback. They can still be that type of offense without their star quarterback.
And Dwenger also holds touchdown lead over the Northside Legends. Northside fighting for their SAC championship lives.
And Northside, they played so well against Snyder, but they've got to hold on. Northside, they have to play a lot better. They're playing without Bronte Johnson, which is the biggest thing. He's only a sophomore, but he leads the entire team. It's very, very impressive what he's able to do, and playing without him is very unfortunate.
It's been a very interesting week in the SAC. And right now, Homestead, really the only team you can look at and say, well, that's a result that I expected, with Homestead a blowout so far through 2 quarters of play, up 49-7 over the Concordia Cadets.
And this was very expected, but not this expected. It was expected Homestead was going to win pretty big, but being up 42 points, going into just halftime, one of the most impressive things you'll ever see.
And now we're going to send it down to sideline reporter Carly Flanagan, who's on the track.
Behind me with the construction going on, the Homestead campus has changed quite drastically since the new school year has started. Right behind me will be the new auditorium, main gymnasium, and cleat locker. And by the end of next school year, 2022-2023, will be the cleat locker and main gym for all sporting events. Brayden, back to you.
Thank you, Carly. Man, when I was a punter last year, it would have been such a great experience to have a brand new locker room, weight room, but not going to quite experience that, or really any of the new Homestead building. It's going to be fantastic when it's done. Homestead destined to be one of the best looking high schools in the state of Indiana.
And the renovations they're doing, if you take a look at what the final project is going to look like, it's very beautiful. The new gymnasium is going to seat almost 1,000 more, meaning more and more Spartan fans can pack in to watch a very successful basketball team. Unfortunately, it's not going to be finished for this basketball season, as Homestead's basketball's expectations are very high. But for years after that, it's going to be very exciting to watch games and just even go to school inside of Homestead.
And you can see the construction right there. That is the new gym planning to be built here at Homestead. It's going to be fantastic. Jumbotron, video boards, half bowl at the new gym is going to be fantastic. Homestead, a very successful basketball team, having only had 1 loss last season, and they're destined to play in a fantastic gymnasium.
And it's very, very expected that Homestead's going to continue to be good, even though they're going to lose some key players after the season. And in that new gymnasium, you could see a big opening where the Homestead media booth is going to be, while the cameras, the announcers, and the whole setup is going to be. And it's very, very honoring knowing that people are recognizing how successful this program has come and incorporating that in part of the construction.
Well, I'm a senior and you're a junior, so too bad we're not going to be able to witness those great things that the media crew would have.
And it's really going to be sophomore Noah Lance, who's not with us here today, but you'll see him on some more broadcasts. That's going to experience the new building and the new construction quite a lot.
Yeah, Noah Lance, usually the second color for these football games, not going to be there today. Second half coming up. Homestead up 49-7 as play gets ready to go.
What limits you? Too small, too old, insecure, broken. You have no limits. Rethink your limits.
Second half of play here at Dave S. Walters Memorial Stadium. Homestead up 49-7 over the Concordia Cadets, and it has been a blowout the entire way. Concordia preparing to kick off to the Homestead Spartans, and you will see the clock roll seemingly never-ending in this second half as the mercy rule is implemented. That kick goes out of bounds. And just like how the first half started, the second half will start with a kickoff violation and ball placement at the 35-yard line for Homestead this time.
And it may have been a bit of a smart move for Concordia to kick that out of bounds. You had Gage Sparrow and Nate Anderson in the backfield. Big, quick, agile players for Homestead, wide receivers that are able to run the ball back all the way.
And if you're not a common viewer of Indiana high school football, you're probably wondering why the clock continues to go. No, it's not a problem with the graphic. This is the way that the rules are here in the state of Indiana with the mercy rule, as starting in the second half, when the point differential exceeds 35 points, which it did early in the first, the game clock switches to a running clock and does not stop unless there's a timeout, a score, or an injury. And the clock, no matter what happens, no matter what kind of comeback Concordia could pull, the clock will not go back to a regular time.
And Gavin Kozad right there was able to get open for the quick 2-yard gain.
Now 1st and 10 goes to a 2nd and 8 for the Spartans, as that clock just continues to move. Peyton Slavin no longer out there at quarterback for the Spartans, as instead it is Zach's Grady Swing at quarterback. Completion made on the near side. That one to Mason Oxier, who had a reception earlier in this game, now out there as the starter in the second half.
It'll be interesting to see what Grady Swing can do. He lost the starting job to Peyton Slavin. He lost the competition. Slavin got the starting job, and we'll see what he's able to do if he can be a very fit backup for Slavin this season.
The quarterback out there on the field, Grady Swing, and the running back, Brevin Adams, 5'6", 155 senior, as all reserves out there for Homestead.
This is going to be a very much of a test to see Homestead's depth and experience, maybe a look into what Homestead's going to be like next year.
Man in motion on the 3rd down, handoff to Adams. He's got a lane up the field. There he goes. Touchdown, Spartans! And Homestead reaches the 50s as the 3rd quarter just begins.
And that is the 3rd Homestead running back with a touchdown this season. The only one got the most playing time last game, Cam Johnson. Homestead's running back depth is just so incredible as he runs through and just takes off like there's somebody chasing him. What a play by Brevin Adams, and Homestead is just blowing this one even more away.
And what a job by that offensive line. His lane was so wide, essentially the moment he crossed the line of scrimmage, he was gone. Extra point up and in for Cameron Jarrett. He remains perfect on the season. Homestead just adding on at this point. 56-7 over.
What limits you? Too small, too old, insecure, broken. You have no limits. Rethink your limits.
And a bobbled kickoff again by Concordia. They have had some trouble picking up those Cameron kickoffs. And there's just another miscue by the special teams of Concordia.
That's another collision. That's the fourth kickoff in a row where the ball has been bobbled or fumbled. Now I want to see if there's an injury on the field.
Man down for the Cadets as the athletic trainers come out onto the field. That is number 4, Landon Koshkinski, the 5'9", 145-pound defensive back, a junior for this cadet squad.
And that's not what you want to see. Landon Koshkinski played a very good game last week with 3 tackles. He's only 5'9", a pretty small, strong safety. You see he goes down pretty hard. You'll see him get wrapped up and looks like he may have hurt his ankle.
Seemingly just took a hit as he was heading down. Not necessarily a late hit, just something that happens in the game of football, everything moving so fast. He's up on his feet, though. Good sight to see as he walks on under his own power to the Concordia sideline.
Walking it off. That's a good sign for Concordia. They didn't want to lose one of their starters in a game that has seemingly been blown out of proportion.
And now the Cadets out on the field again to start off this third quarter, their first drive of the second half. Down 56-7 with 8:33 left in the third quarter, and soon that clock will be rolling, and it will not stop unless there's an injury, a timeout, or a touchdown scored. Eli Maddox rolls left, throws in, almost intercepted. You heard the crowd giving, oh, Isaac Barkus almost got his hands around that one.
And an interesting decision by Coach Zolman to keep Isaac Barkus in the game, but they want that experience.
Second down and 10.
And they want that experience in at strong safety, so they're keeping him in. Interesting choice by Coach Zolman. He'll probably be subbed out soon for son Zach Zolman.
Now 2nd and 10 for Concordia. Just looking for really anything here in this second half. Just any kind of momentum to build on and gain some experience for some backups and for new starter Eli Maddox. Drops back, aiming towards his far side receiver, Robert Johnson, and it sails past him. 3rd and 10 coming up for Concordia.
And the Concordia Cadets are just in shambles right now. They don't know what to do. Homestead has them figured out, even with the backups in. This game is just over.
Now another 3rd down for Concordia. Has some backups coming in for the Cadets. Maddox right, just one of them coming in, the tight end, junior. 3rd and 12 for Concordia. Maddox rolls left, pocket folds, throw in the air. Oh, what a grab by Jace Parnan, and he has space! Unbelievable shades of Ole Miss, Alabama, and Concordia on the board in this second half.
And all it took was one big play for Concordia to finally get a score. Jacob Parnan took advantage of the bobbled ball and just picked it up and took it to the house.
And look at this. It looks just like Chad Kelly to Laquan Treadwell in Alabama Ole Miss 2016. Just crazy course of events. And ends up in the hands of Jace Parnan.
Big mistake for Homestead's linebackers, 2 of the guys, JV players, tripping over one another. causing a roadblock for Isaac Barkas, and he wasn't able to catch him.
And Jace Parnan with the big touchdown for Concordia. Sam Bruno, his fellow special teamer, makes that PAT. Homestead up 56-14. Concordia showing signs of life in the second half.
What limits you? Too small, too old, insecure, broken. You have no limits. Rethink your limits.
Welcome back to Dave Walters Memorial Stadium. 80 degrees outside. It's cooled down a little bit with the wind going at 8 miles per hour. Homestead, they've just thrived throughout this game as the temperature fluctuates. 56-14. They have dominated all game long.
And tell you what, this atmosphere with the Friday night lights, you see they've turned on, the sun has set, and the fans here, at least on the Homestead side, they're enjoying themselves knowing that they're going to walk away with a pretty easy victory today.
Kickoff by Concordia. Sam Bruno down the field, and he's got space. There goes Homestead returner Mason Auxier as he broke a few tackles and got just short of the 40-yard line. Big return for Auxier.
And we have a score update around the SAC. Bishop Dwenger in the third quarter, or just at the end, start of the third quarter, leads Northside 16-6. Definitely a game we're going to have to keep an eye on.
Yeah, Bishop Dwenger at 1-0 this year. They're a contender in the SAC. Northside just trying to keep their hopes alive. SAC, of course, if you lose one, you still have a chance, but if you lose two, you're out. And Northside, after a heartbreaking defeat at the gun against the Panthers, they have to pull out a victory against the Saints this week.
And this is a dire situation for Northside if they want to stay in this contention, which being without Bronte Johnson is a loss already. If they end up losing the game, they're not able to hold on within reach, it would be a very big loss.
Grady Swing, the quarterback out there for Homestead, didn't get much on that gain. Grady Swing, he also plays basketball for this Spartan squad. Some minutes in varsity. He is definitely a player who can do it all. He also holds for the Spartans, so 3 jobs for this pure athlete the Spartans have.
And Joseph Taylor there was able to bring Grady Swing down. Yeah, Grady Swing is a tremendous athlete, and that's why he was in conversation for getting the starting job at quarterback. He seems to have found a finding at wide receiver, at least playing some slot wide receiver, coming in for Max Schultz sometimes. He got a huge 4th down conversion last week for Northrop to set up the tying touchdown in the first half.
Whistles blown before the snap. That's a false start for the Spartans. We've seen a few of those in this game, and definitely going to be a few sprints ran come Monday practice for this Spartan team.
And as good as Homestead's playing today, there's always some improvement. The penalties is definitely an area. Some players, there's an unsportsmanlike penalty earlier in the game. Players get passionate, but that's something you don't want to hurt your team with.
That clock just continues to go. Every time you look at it, it seems like an endless amount of time has gone by. As 3:38 left in the third, Homestead up 56-14. And this could be their second straight game of the season holding their opponents only 14 points. This defense has been stout through 2 weeks. Down the field, he's got the completion. There's Grady Swing finding wide open Orlando Sheets, the tight end.
And Orlando Sheets was able to get open. Way to go for Grady Swing. You see he stays patient. Sheets coming across your string wide open, makes the sliding grab.
And it looks like they're going to be taking this one back. A penalty on the Spartans.
Penalty called on the Spartans.
And you hate to see that late in the game.
The 5-yard penalty will replay second down.
Especially if you're a player knowing that Coach Zolman not one to tolerate those kind of penalties that give up what could be massive gains.
And Orlando Sheets not very happy. Can't be very happy about that play, losing his first reception of the season.
Now a 3rd and 18 for Homestead. Actually a 2nd 18. Great swing downfield, almost intercepted by Dontrell Johnson, but just to his right, and now it's 3rd down.
Now it's going to be a 3rd and long. It's going to be a test of Grady Swing's arm. You're going to have to unleash it deep on this play.
Seemingly is the first time that Homestead has had a taste of what Concordia's had all game long, and that's long 3rd downs that they have to complete. Great swing, number 14 out there at quarterback for the Homestead Spartans. 6'4", 185 senior, leading the charge in the second half after Peyton Slavin had himself a game in the first half. And what a completion downfield to Mason Oxier. And Homestead reaches territory with a big heave by Grady Swing.
And we said it was going to be a test of Grady Swing's arm, and look at that brilliant pass right into the bucket of Alex Sheets. What a play.
1st and 10 for the Spartans. Grady Swing has to have some confidence after that big gain through the air. Minute left in the 3rd quarter. Spartans up big.
Mason Auxier is playing really, really good football so far. He's probably fighting for a starting job maybe later in the season.
Jet sweep to Zach Zolman. Sheds a tackle, goes upfield and knocked down after about a 5-yard. Zach Zolman, son of head coach Chad Zolman, getting himself some yardage there.
And at this point, Concordia's defense just looks depleted. They look tired. It doesn't look like they're able to keep going much as the clock is ticking down. We'll see if Homestead waits till the end of the quarter.
Great swing out there for the moment. Play clock at 25 with the rolling clock at 18. They don't have to do this play, but it looks like they're going to opt. Go ahead with it. Fox up the field, flag thrown after the snap. This one might be holding. And no, it will be false start on the Spartans.
And that will close out the 3rd quarter. Homestead with a very, very comfortable lead, up 42, playing great.
Homestead up 50-17, 1 quarter of play left.
Rethink your limits.
Spartans up 56-14 with 12 minutes left on a rolling clock as this game just about wrapping up. And Anthony has some scoring updates from some other games around the SAC.
And just ending the first half, this game's very slow. Bishop Dwenger takes a 23-6 lead over Northside.
That is huge for the Saints Northside. This is a must-win game for them. You can't start off the year 0-2, and right now Bishop Dwenger, they're looking good.
Bishop Dwenger, they're fighting to win the SAC. Fell just short in a triple overtime game to Homestead last year. They would have had it if they hadn't lost that game. But it's Homestead, Dwenger, Snyder, and Carroll seem to be the heavy favorites this year.
Up the field is Fox again as he cuts a tackle. Almost sheds the last one, but Dontrell Johnson, the fellow running back, halts the end zone. Brevin Adams down the field.
Brevin Adams, the ball carrier.
First and 10.
And Homestead keeps showing their running back depth that they have. We have Brevin Fox playing earlier in the game, Desmond Smith Jr., the current starter, now Brevin Adams getting a lot of yardage. He even has a touchdown in this game as the 4th string running back.
Brevin Adams out there at running back, along with quarterback Jimmy Sullivan, the freshman QB, getting some time in the Spartan offense. Whistle blown, and the ball is going to be moved back off a false start. And you notice that even during the penalty, that clock just continues to roll.
First and goal from the 15.
Mercy rule in IHSAA. This is the 3rd year of implementation in the state.
And Jimmy Sullivan, you just mentioned a freshman. He's the first freshman quarterback to play in a snap for Homestead since Luke Goody was a freshman, who's now a graduated senior.
That time, Brevin Adams stopped by James Rusher, the captain linebacker. And Homestead, they have just a historic history of great quarterbacks in the last few years. Luke Goody, Evan Ormsby, and before that, Zach Terrell, who played at Western Michigan and led them to that infamous 2016 undefeated regular season. And then Evan Ormsby, All-SAC last year, and now Peyton Slavin leading the QB room.
And credit to Coach Bill Skelton, who's in charge of developing these quarterbacks. He always does such a great job. Evan Ormsby came out of nowhere. He played defense the year prior, and then he came and played quarterback and almost won SAC Player of the Year. And now Peyton Slavin, his backup last year, starting, playing incredible as we saw in the first half. And you can see right now Grady Swing played in the 3rd quarter, and freshman Jimmy Sullivan is getting his time right now.
Timeout Spartans. That's the first timeout that they have used in this second half. Haven't really needed to use any, as they have held a comfortable lead pretty much since early in the first quarter, a dominating game.
And another SAC score update. This game is interesting. Carroll is up 2 over Snyder with 5:12 left in the 4th quarter, 23-21.
And just a note again, Carroll without South Dakota State commit Jeff Becker, one of the premier quarterbacks in Northeast Indiana, and they are still finding a way to contest and have the lead against Snyder, which in most people's mind is the front runner for an SAC title this year.
And Snyder, we all love their defense. They've got an incredible defense. Carroll's defense has always been questionable.
Jimmy Sullivan jet sweep to Auxier. Breaks inside the 10 and knocked out of bounds by Concordia. That's Grant Hayworth making the tackle.
And Carroll's defense has always had a lot of questions as whether or not they were going to be able to take on some offenses. Same with Snyder's offense. There were questions about whether or not Snyder's offense was fit to go against good defenses. So the game today was really going to be Carroll's offense versus Snyder's defense, and that's what it's turning out to be. It's a fairly low-scoring game for high school football.
That's another holding for the Spartans as the ball moves back. 2nd and goal, and is at the 22-yard line.
Not what you want to see out of Homestead, and especially for a freshman quarterback, Jimmy Sullivan.
Jimmy Sullivan, he's a tall freshman out there, 6'2" for the Homestead Spartans. He could be out there with fellow QB Gery Swing on the basketball court if he wanted to. Jimmy Sullivan rolls right downfield, got Auxier. Did he make the catch in bounds? They say he did. That's a connection between Sullivan and Auxier.
What an explosive half for Auxier as you see this throw thrown out to the sideline and tiptoes, keeping his feet in bound at the 6-yard line. What a catch for Auxier.
Orlando Sheets going to come into the game at tight end. He'll be coming in place of number 84, Brady Schweetman. 3rd and 6 for Homestead. Rolling clock, just above 8 minutes left. Handoff up the gut and in the end zone. Touchdown Spartans. That's Brevin Adams with the goal line gain. And another touchdown for the Spartans.
Unbelievable playing. It looks like they're going to call him short. Take a look at this replay. What a breaking a tackle. Pushing into the end zone, and he is short, just shy of the goal line. Good call by the referees.
Yeah, about the half-yard line. Those refs, even late in this game with clock rolling down, keeping a close eye on things. And Cameron Jarrett going to get an opportunity here to kick a field goal. Against Northrop, he had a 31-yarder go in. So this will be his second attempt of the season, and it's a close one. 22-yard attempt and a flag on the field. Delay of game on Homestead. Got a little caught up in that rolling clock. Forgot about the play clock.
This fourth quarter has been riddled with flags for Homestead. Not ideal for Coach Zolman. That's the biggest concern for Homestead going forward.
This kick moved from a relative chip shot to now a 23-yard field goal off the right hash, and no problem for Cameron Jarrett, making 2 of 2 on the year, and Homestead extends their lead 59-14, 6:44 left in the fourth quarter.
What limits you? Too small, too old, insecure, broken. You have no limits. Rethink your limits.
Lights on at Dave Walters Memorial Stadium, and we have a blowout here as dusk goes down to dawn. 59-14, Spartans up over the Concordia Cadets. These are 2 undefeated teams, but it looks like it's going to be Homestead that moves to 2-0 after this.
And quick score update around the SAC. Snyder took the lead over Carroll. They lead 28-23 with just under 3 minutes left in the fourth quarter.
Jace Parnon, the return goes down to the 31. It feels like he's done everything today for Concordia. Have him at punter, wide receiver, and now you also have him returning kicks. He is a jack of all trades.
And look at that wrap up by Jacob Heyer. Very experienced senior for Homestead, knowing how to tackle.
Concordia offense back out on the field. And this might be their last time on the field as that clock just continues to go down. 1st and 10 at the 31-yard line. Eli Maddox talking to Grant Hayworth, his tight end.
It's surprising to see that Eli Maddox is still in the game and not giving the backup the opportunity he needs.
Downfield completion by Eli Maddox down to Don Trill. Maddox right.
First down for Concordia.
Concordia finally getting another first down. Might try to make a late game touchdown rush to hear the bell ring.
Bobbled the snap, and that's another miscue, and this one will go to Homestead as Concordia's possession ends about a minute into it after a bobbled snap between Eli Maddox and his center, Alex Donkey.
And that's going to be Tyler Latwinko picking up the football, the scoop, and now turnover on downs.
Fumble recovered by the Spartans.
Jimmy Sullivan back out on the field for Homestead. Had a successful first drive, his last time out, his first varsity drive, ending in a touchdown with the run by Brevin Adams. You have to be happy with the way that these reserves have played so far.
It shows that Homestead has a lot of depth, and there's a lot of concerns about how good Homestead's going to be next year, as all but 3 starters are seniors.
Correction, I got caught up on the fact that they overturned that touchdown. It was a field goal by Cameron Jarrett.
Got to give credit to the kicker but you have to be very impressed with how the youth is playing.
And Homestead has a bobbled snap of their own. Jimmy Sullivan able to corral it, though. And that was almost a ball right back to Concordia, but Jimmy Sullivan able to corral it.
Jimmy Sullivan making the smart decision to jump on the ball, but now it is going to be 2nd and 31 for Homestead. They have some room to make up.
This reminds me a little bit of Mississippi State, Louisiana Tech a few years ago, where 3rd and goal was at about the Louisiana Tech 6. Just the grease pig keeps rolling back. Not as bad as that for Homestead, though. 3:40 left, up 59-14. Jimmy Sullivan out there at QB. Man in motion, jet sweep to Nathan Bardwell, and he is stopped just ahead of the line of scrimmage. Not much going there. And, well, needless to say, it's going to be a long 3rd down coming up.
It's going to be a very long 3rd down. And we'll see, are they going to let the freshman quarterback unleash the ball as far as he can down the field, see what he has?
They might. 3rd and 32. Nothing really to lose here except a punt. So might as well let Jimmy Sullivan sling one. Maybe he can get 32 yards and let this drive keep going.
It looks like Concordia is going to bring the blitz. They have a bunch of guys lined up, 7 guys. Watch out, Jimmy.
Sullivan drops back, throws the short pass to his running back, Brevin Adams. He's got some blockers, but not much space after he is brought down by number 7, Tyler Moe. 4th down.
Good play call by Homestead to keep their freshman quarterback nice and safe. But now it's going to be 4th down. Homestead obviously going to punt this one away.
And Jimmy Sullivan, he's going to stay out there. Either they're going to let him experiment with the QB punt, as most Homestead QBs eventually work with, or they're just going to let him sling one.
Be a very interesting decision and definitely a test for the freshman.
And Concordia has Jace Parnan back there, a little bit of a miscommunication. He thought that there was a punt. Coach Eschbach calling him back saying, no, not a punt. Actually, they're going to replace him with Dontrell Johnson. And he will be back there just in case it's a QB punt. Just a little bit of a miscommunication for Concordia. It will not be a punt as Jimmy Sullivan just going to take it and run. He's actually got space. He might get a 1st down here. No, just short. Almost made the 22-yard conversion, but the freshman couldn't quite get enough space. Concordia gets the ball back.
What an incredible attempt by the freshman, breaking through, using the hole, breaks this tackle right here, goes over the logo, and eventually brought down just shy.
At the 30-yard line, that's a big gain late in this game. Maybe they can get themselves a touchdown here.
Concordia running some hurry up, trying to get one final play off as the clock winds down at 16 seconds.
1st and 10 at the 30. Downfield, he's going for him again. Incomplete. Could not get the ball to Robert Johnson, but 3 Spartans back there able to force the incompletion. And with that, the running clock will hit 0, and Homestead will advance to 2-0, 59-14 over the Concordia Cadets.
What a game by Homestead. They played incredible football, raising the helmets in the air as they should, coming off a huge victory, 59-14. And I think the most impressive thing was how well Peyton Slavin played in the first half.
Yeah, what a performance by Peyton Slavin and his wideouts, Gage Sparrow and Nate Anderson, both with a couple touchdowns. Fantastic performance.
Bishop Dwenger takes the lead 29-6 over Northside. Northside, they're running out of time. They're running out of clock if they want to get back in this game.
The SAC has just been a wild week as Northside running out of chances to beat Bishop Dwenger, and you have to be impressed with the way that the Spartans played overall in this one. Only 14 points allowed again against their opponent. Last week it was 31-14 against Northrop. This week 59-14 against Concordia. Just every facet of the game for Homestead looked impressive.
And Homestead, they're a very, very complete team this year, and they are very dangerous in the SAC. They've got it working now on offense. The wide receiver room is stacked. Peyton Slavin has figured out the quarterback position. And as we saw in the 3rd and 4th quarter, Homestead has depth at the quarterback position just in case an injury were to happen. And talk about the experience on defense. The front three, the front six for Homestead is so good and so effective. No rushing yards are ever allowed. And then the secondary for Homestead just completely shutting down today.
And finally, Anthony, who was your player of the game and what was a fantastic one for the Spartans?
And I think you have to give player of the game to Peyton Slavin. I know it's usually a corny pick taking the quarterback, but the way he played in this game, he showed so much improvement from the game in Northrop, just launching so many passes downfield, even at a 50-yard pass. Way to go for the junior.
And the final score of this one, Homestead takes the win 59-14 for Anthony, Gery, and the entire Homestead Live crew. This is Brayden Carroll saying so long from Davis Walters Memorial Stadium. We'll see you right here on Homestead Live next Friday for Homestead Bishop Lures. This has been a presentation of Homestead Live.
What limits you? Too small, too old, insecure, broken. You have no limits. Rethink your limits.